What's up, everybody? Kaika here in the Crawl Space Custom Shop, checking out the new Axial Racing SCX10 III standard axle conversion kit. Axial put this out as a straight axle conversion for any of the SCX10 III trucks that came with their portal axles to get a more scale, feel, and look to them. The portal axles have been working great from Axial, but with this addition here, that's going to help a lot more of the scale builders create a scale looking truck out of their SCX10 III platform, or any other platform for that matter that works with Axial stuff. So we're going to dig into this truck, or excuse me, dig into the axle pack here and check out what they got going on. All right, gang, let's go ahead and break into this box here. Axial did a hell of a job with the packaging. Nice layout, you can see everything. A ton of information here on the back side as far as covering what you get in the box here. And let's give her an open. There we go. So we have this nice foam tray with the front and rear axle and a full set of shocks here. And let's open up the instruction manual. Looks like we have shock oil to fill the shocks here. So the shocks do come dry, so you will have to fill them up. And it gives you a breakdown and diagram here as far as how to fill the shocks. And a pretty good layout of the instruction manual here, giving you details. Nice to see eye-to-eye measurements here on the links and what they need to be, and then installation of the new panhard mount and linkage and shocks. But enough of the information here is very pertinent to the installation. See the install of the new gear set that comes with the kit into the transmission, drive shafts, front drive shaft, and getting it all bolted back together. They did a hell of a job with this instruction manual. But enough of that, let's get into these axles here. We have the front and rear axle, like I stated, and all the goodies are located on the back. Shock oil, links, panhard mount, and gear set. This guy. Front axle looks nice and stout. We have a pretty much a full truss across the top of the axle. Upper link mount, double shear, panhard mount, double shear, and lower link mounts, double shear as well. Shock mounts aren't double shear. That's okay, because there's definitely enough meat there in the plastic to secure the shocks. AR-45 off center pumpkin axle shafts. The ball piece in the universal yoke definitely looks solid, and then our knuckles are definitely a new design here, double shear and definitely strengthened. This section here is very beefy, and then we have the set screw 12mm hex, which is nice. No 7mm hex nuts. I don't know why that wasn't included. It's one of those little things, but they are always nice to have, seeing as they tend to wallow out over time. So they missed on that, but small detail, but still a detail nonetheless. So the biggest thing with getting anything from the factory is concern, or at least my concern is it greased or not? So we're gonna go ahead and open up this diff cover here and see if they got some grease in there. And there we go. You can see the bearing caps are integrated into the diff cover, nice and solid. And we have grease, ladies and gentlemen. That is very nice to see. And it's not just a little spit of grease. The gear teeth are completely covered, and there's a little extra on the side. So that is nice, and it looks like of a good consistency. Now, some people are a little bit more picky about their grease. You can always clean this out and apply your own grease, but this looks good enough for me. and like I said, definitely coated well. So with that being said, we'll venture to assume that the rear diff is greased as well, so we won't necessarily have to crack that open. But let's go ahead and put this guy back in place and make sure that it is nice and tight, but not too tight. You want to make sure that you run it in just enough, run these screws in just enough. There you go. Now we're talking about a whole new axle here, off-center pumpkin truss, scale truss, and it looks like the C-hubs are integrated into the truss here, and they also have a bump stop here for the knuckle. So that's to hopefully eliminate any issue with binding in the universal. But let's go ahead and crack one of those guys off and see what they did there with the C-hub. Stainless steel tie rod and drag link in the setup. Black oxide hardware. Looks like we've got some button head shoulder screws there for the knuckles. I'm sure you can replace those with some brass inserts, some brass sleeves like on the SCX10 II. So universal axle there, looks nice and stout. Pretty tight, feels really good. Tolerances feel really good, so that's nice to see. We've got the end bearing cap, or end bearing captured by the C-hub, which is nice. There you can see that bump stop there, which probably can get filed off or cut off fairly easy. Pop that guy off there. Okay, so it looks like the bearing actually sits inside the C-hub there. It's captured by the C-hub in a little bearing race. And then here we have on the axle two key splines, if you will, to engage on the C-hub. And that looks like that, and plenty of meat on that axle tube, which is nice because you could probably, if you wanted to clock these C-hubs a little bit more for some more positive caster, you can run these off, grind these off with a Dremel or file, and then clock the C-hub as needed for your application. But that's definitely a nice stout setup and design to this axle. It's very good to see that. We'll put this back together real quick and we'll go over to the passenger side. Look at this panhard mount for the axle. Get this guy locker lined up. This guy kind of looks like I got a ragdoll on the bench here with the steering links flopping all around, but that makes it a little easier to get into. Let's check this guy out. So double sheared panhard mount. It's a little skinny on the front, little flexible, but once we get a ball end in there, it should be nice and solid. Again, that C-hub and this panhard mount is integrated into the truss system. You can see the backside is webbed out, if you will, probably for molding production, but that's okay. Axle feels nice and firm across both planes, and a very nice addition to your next build, or changing out your SCX10 III trucks to a straight axle conversion. So we're gonna go and put this back together and we'll take a look at the rear axle. Oops. All right, rear axle design, excuse me. Very simple and to the point, with a full truss spanning the entire length of the axle shaft, or axle housing, excuse me. And again, webbed on the back there, but still nice and strong both ways. feeling good for definitely a plastic axle. Again, double shear link mounts, single post link or shock mounts, and then we have kind of the standard upper link mounts that you've seen on the SCX10 II and the SCX10 III. You can always space those out, the links out if you need to the outside. There's definitely plenty of meat there. Really digging the detail of the axle here. Just the kind of geometric speed holes and the open spaces as well on the truss. Very cool, nice, clean, and simple. Again, we'll venture to assume that the rear diff is greased along with the, just like the front diff. And then we have the set screw locking 12 mil hexes here. And again, we're minus the wheel nuts. Let's get a measurement on this. It's a lot easier to measure the rear axle than it is to the front axle. And we are about at 7.5 inches wide, end of hex to end of hex. Get that, see if you can see that there. Oops. 7.5. So good size, availability to put on small hubs or larger hubs depending on what wheel you're running. And yeah, nice solid axle. I'm digging that. Really liking this kit so far. They did a hell of a job. Now these shocks will be familiar because you have seen these on the Capra and the SCX10 III platform. We've got the kind of medium bored aluminum bodied threaded shock here with the plastic shock cartridge, plastic top cap with the bleeder on there, which makes it really easy to fill these shocks. And then we have the stainless steel ball insert with a half, a slight standoff there. Spring cups are retained with a small 2.5 screw, which is nice. We don't have to worry about losing those. Then getting down to one of Axial's newer style rod ends here, 3 mil rod ends here. Plastic feels good. And then that's also with a stainless steel ball end there. Shaft looks stainless steel. I'm not going to squeeze these too much because there's not a whole lot of no oil in them. We'll crack it open real quick, see if they spit any Chinese fish oil in there. Hopefully they did. Doesn't look like it. She is dry. We've got a 3-hole piston there. And with the included 35 weight oil, it might be interesting. So you can always play around the oil and inside of the cup there with the O-ring, nice solid big O-ring in there. That's nice to see, not those little flimsy thin ones. All right, gang, to sum it up, I think Axial did a hell of a job. One with the overall setup of the axles, packaging looks great, and including everything that is needed for the conversion, or if you are just looking to get into a nice set of axles at a decent hell of a price, honestly, straight up great price from Axial. We're looking at $160 retail for this guy here, and can't be beat. Double check the back here for all that information. We've got standard solid axles, AR45 universal joints, hypoid differential gears, which I spoke about. We are getting into 100 mil shocks. That is just in case you do swap it into the SCX10 III. You get the proper travel for these axles. Once you eliminate the portal box, you need to run longer shocks, and your travel should be all the same. Metal links, stainless steel metal links. As I included the, or stated earlier, the transmission gears. Wheelbase support, let's see what it says. Designed for 12.3 wheelbase, but supports all wheelbases, including 12-inch 11.4, which is a very short wheelbase, and the 13.9 wheelbase like on the Axial Gladiator. Very happy to get these in. Super stoked to hopefully see what people build with them, and looking forward to hopefully getting into a set myself and maybe building something, but we will see. As always, keep learning, keep building, and keep pushing. Aloha.